Fred Vasseur is in very, very deep trouble. And now, finally, the secret that Ferrari have been attempting to keep under wraps for weeks has burst out. Behind closed doors, hidden from the prying eyes of the public, the team have been quietly making preparations for what could be one of the most earthquake-like shakeups of recent Formula One history. While Vasseur publicly continues to project calm, focus, and commitment to rebuilding Ferrari, recent reports paint an entirely different picture. Ferrari has gone so far as to approach Christian Horner in a bold and ultimately rejected attempt to lure him away from Red Bull. And now, the Scuderia has set its sights on Antonello Coletta, the genius behind Ferrari's unrivaled dominance in the World Endurance Championship. So, what does this mean? It means Ferrari's top brass no longer view Vasseur as untouchable. It means the team's disastrous 2025 season, with 0 wins in the first 10 races, driver tensions boiling over, and a car that simply won't perform, has shaken confidence in Vasseur's leadership. The very project he was brought in to head is collapsing, and with rivals like McLaren and Mercedes bridging the gap, the pressure on Vasseur has reached a boiling point. This is not a rumor, a bombshell with the potential to completely change Ferrari's future in Formula One. So, like the video, subscribe and hold on until the end, because what you are about to learn may well explain not just the upheaval at Ferrari, but why Vasseur's time to save his job could be running out. Now, let's take a closer look at what this moment truly means for Ferrari, not just for Fred Vasseur, but for the entire Scuderia, from top to bottom. Because what's unfolding here isn't just a few technical missteps, poor strategies, or underwhelming weekends. No, what we're witnessing is a full-blown identity crisis, one that threatens to consume the very soul of the most iconic team in motorsport. Charles Leclerc, once regarded as Ferrari's golden child and future world champion, now bears a striking resemblance to the haunted figures of Maranello's darkest years. His voice, once filled with optimism and fire, now carries a weight of frustration that goes far beyond disappointment. In Montreal, when he erupted over team radio after being called in for a pit stop, despite his own insistence that his tires were fine, it wasn't a case of one bad call. It was a case of something far more fundamental breaking down: confidence. Confidence in a strategy team that's lost its rhythm. Confidence in a garage no longer gelling like a unit. Belief in a vision that at one time seemed like a common goal, but now looks like no more than speculation. And when that belief disappears, especially in a driver of Leclerc's caliber, the consequences are nothing short of catastrophic. And it doesn't stop there. On the other side of the garage, the atmosphere is no less frantic. Lewis Hamilton, with the weight of 7 world championships on his shoulders, came to Ferrari with the hope of not just cementing his legacy, but playing the central role in making Ferrari a championship-winning outfit once again. But now, just 10 races into his maiden season, Hamilton has gone from would-be architect to reluctant whistleblower. His cryptic but cutting public statements opened the lid on a toxic cocktail of outdated processes, communications breakdowns, and what he bluntly described as a dire need for a mindset shift. When Hamilton says, "There's a lot going on in the background," that's far from a throwaway remark. It's a signal flare, a burning alert that there are deep structural issues at play. Political inertia, a lack of clarity, and a suffocating reliance on old-school thinking masquerading as tradition. And in doing so, Hamilton is squarely putting Ferrari's top management under the microscope. The dysfunction he's alluding to? It doesn't start on race day. It starts in the boardroom. The root of this chaos can be traced back to Ferrari's attempt to reinvent itself under Fred Vasseur. In 2024, it had all seemed to be on the right track. 5 wins, near miss in the Constructors' Championship. It seemed momentum was being built. Vasseur had earned some trust after the dramatic exit of Bonatto, and the team seemed to be moving forward. That was before 2025, the new car philosophy, the complete design reset. Most in the paddock called it an unnecessary risk, and now it appears that risk has spectacularly backfired. Ferrari has abandoned the solid foundation it had built in 2024 for an experimental SF-25 that is explosively inconsistent, plagued by aerodynamic instability, brake overheating, and abysmal tire management. It's a car that no one, not even Hamilton, can get to grips with. And the result? A team not just underperforming, but on the verge of a complete and utter implosion. Yet this is not the worst of it. The internal strife has been worse over the last several weeks. Insiders claim Vasseur is now coming under growing. Here's the twist. It's not just the lack of results that's fueling this pressure. It's also being driven from the outside. Reports have confirmed that behind the scenes, Ferrari made an approach to Christian Horner earlier this year. Yes, you read that right. The Christian Horner, the longest-serving, most successful team principal on the current grid, the man who turned Red Bull into a dynasty. Ferrari wanted him to replace Vasseur, but Horner said no. In an exclusive interview, he made it clear, "My heart and soul are at Red Bull." He dismissed the speculation with grace, but make no mistake, his rejection was a blow. Ferrari failed to secure the one man they thought could reset the culture, bring modern thinking, and guide the team with ruthless efficiency. And so the search moved closer to home. Enter Antonello Cleta. Lederer may not have the global name recognition of her, but within Ferrari his record speaks volumes. Under his leadership, Ferrari's World Endurance Championship program has flourished, back-to-back victories at Le Mans unbeaten. So far in the 2025 season, a team built on structure, stability, and relentless attention to detail. Cleta represents everything the F1 team currently lacks, and now, according to multiple Italian reports, he's the front runner to take over should Vasseur be dismissed. The plan being considered, sources say, isn't just a straight replacement. Ferrari is exploring a dual leadership structure, Cleta taking over sporting and technical oversight, with Lorenzo Gioetti managing the commercial and strategic side, much like the Zach Brown-Andrea Stella model at McLaren. It's a bold idea, but in the current climate, bold might be the only way out. The bigger question is what happens to Vasseur if results don't improve. Recent emotional defense in the Canadian GP press conference revealed a man feeling the strain he called media speculation. Disrespectful accused journalists of undermining morale and pleaded for calm. But his words, however sincere, may have come too late, because Ferrari isn't just fighting for wins, they're fighting to hold together the very fabric of a team that seems dangerously close to unraveling behind the scenes. Engineers are burned out, trackside strategists are second-guessing every move, drivers are airing grievances publicly, and the fans, they're losing patience. So are the sponsors, so are the shareholders. Even the failed pursuit of Adrian Newey adds to the snowball. Once again, Ferrari tried to lure a legendary figure to reshape their fortunes. Once again, they came up short. Newey chose Aston Martin. Instead, a team with less history, fewer titles, but perhaps more freedom to build. Without bureaucratic interference in this environment, how can Leclerc and Hamilton feel secure? Blair may have signed a long-term deal, but with performance clauses embedded in his contract, he won't hesitate to explore an exit if Ferrari continues to flounder, and Hamilton, he doesn't have 5 more years to waste. He came for a project with ambition. Instead, he's stuck in a political minefield, watching podiums slip away due to inexplicable strategic errors. This isn't just about Vasseur anymore, it's about Ferrari's soul, about whether the team can admit its mistakes and evolve, or whether it's destined to repeat the same cycles of chaos under different leadership names. Next few races won't just decide Fred Vasseur's future. They could determine whether Ferrari remains relevant in the hybrid era of Formula One or slips further into irrelevance, while the rest of the grid writes the future. So stay exactly where you are, because this isn't just another chapter in Ferrari's long history of internal struggles. It could be the final warning shot before everything comes crashing down. Fred Vasseur is not just battling a car that refuses to perform, or a driver lineup that's growing increasingly vocal. He's battling the weight of Ferrari's legacy, the pressure of an entire nation, and the quiet storm building within Maranello's own corridors of power. What's unfolding now is bigger than a team principal under scrutiny. It's about trust eroding from the top down, and about 2 of the most high-profile drivers on the grid beginning to question whether the promises they were sold were ever truly realistic. And that's the real danger, because once belief starts to fracture inside Ferrari, it doesn't just lead to mistakes on track, it leads to exits, to instability, to chaos. And Leclerc's rising profile, the media pressure, the boardroom uncertainty, the angry team radios, the failed strategy calls, the desperate search for leadership. All of it is converging into something that feels less like a crisis and more like a reckoning. If Ferrari continues down this path, they don't just risk another lost season, they risk losing the very people who could have led them back to glory. But if change does come, if the team finally faces its flaws head on, this moment might also be remembered as the turning point. So don't blink, don't scroll, don't miss a second of what comes next. Like this V.